Hi class, today we're going to talk about chapter 22, section 2, Life in Athens from the Story of the World. In this video, we're going to review chapter 22, section 2, talk about the Acropolis, and then the history of Athenian democracy, so kind of how it came about, and then the characteristics of Athenian democracy. So let's begin with your review. In your section, you read about the city of Athens. That they were ruled by a democracy. And a democracy meant that the citizens were allowed to vote on new laws, such as leaders, taxes, wars, if they would go to war, things like that. And they would meet in a forum to debate and to vote. Education was very important to the Athenians. They believed that ignorant or uneducated people would not vote well, and they placed a really high emphasis on education. Plato, one of the most famous Athenians, argued that you needed people to be educated to have a democracy, because uneducated and ignorant people would end up following a tyrant. So education was really important, and Athenian education for boys involved them studying taxes, laws, government, reading and writing. They memorized the works of Homer, which that's not a small feat. They studied math, how to play the flute and lyre, and wrestling and racing. Athenian girls, their education was slightly different. They were taught how to be domestic and how to be housewives, because that was seen as their role in life. They learned how to manage a home, sew, garden, take care of children, and manage slaves. They were not allowed to vote. So let's talk about the Acropolis. Last video, when we studied Sparta, you learned about the polis, which is the Greek city-state, and how in a polis you often had an Acropolis. You learned about that a little bit, but I want to delve into it further today. So an Acropolis is a citadel or a complex built on a high hill. The name Acropolis is Greek, and it comes from the two words acro and polis. Acro means high, extreme, or edge. Polis means city. So Acropolis meant city in the air or city on the edge, which those are cool definitions. The Acropolis in Athens is the most popular, most famous Acropolis, probably I would say in the entire world. So here's, I'm just showing you a couple pictures of what an Acropolis looks like. You can see how it is built on like an edge on a high hill. And the Parthenon was the temple, or is, it's still there, temple on the Acropolis in Athens. Again, most famous one. It was built between 447 and 432 BC. It was built to create a lasting monument to honor their goddess Athena and to show the city's glory to the world. And this temple remained in use for over 1,000 years. History.com talks about the importance of the Parthenon, so I'm going to read this quote to you. They say that the Parthenon was the center of religious life in the powerful Greek city-state of Athens. Built in the 5th century BC, it was a symbol of power, wealth, and elevated culture in Athens. It was the largest and most lavish temple the Greek mainland had ever seen. Today, it is one of the most recognized buildings in the world and an enduring symbol of ancient Greece. So I'm just going to show you some pictures. You can see they're fixing some parts of it. Okay, so moving on from that, we're going to discuss two aspects of Athenian democracy. The first is the history of Athenian democracy, and then we're going to talk about the characteristics of Athenian democracy. So before we do that, I'm going to talk to you briefly about the 4 types of Greek government. and this is taken from the Ancient History Encyclopedia, the foremost common systems of Greek government were democracy, monarchy, oligarchy, and tyranny. A democracy was ruled by the people, or the male citizens. Monarchy was ruled by an individual who inherited his rule. We've seen this in Egypt, in Sumer, in Assyria, like you rule based on your birth. And then oligarchy is ruled by a select group of individuals, so not just one person. And then tyranny is ruled by an individual who has seized power by unconstitutional means. So those are the 4 types of Greek government. So I just wanted you to know that. Okay, so the history of Athenian democracy. After the Greek Dark Ages, remember you have the Bronze Age collapse, Greek Dark Ages, and after we emerge from this, we have wealthy aristocrats who are controlling the land in the government. The poor landowners, however, were enslaved because of their debt. The laws of the city of Athens were very inconsistent. So then comes along a man named Draco, and he decided he was going to write down the laws so that they were no longer inconsistent. So he does this in 621 BC. Draco's laws were considered incredibly harsh and severe, and the penalty for most of the things people did to break the laws was just death. Like, you do anything, you die. And some of the examples of this were, if you were convicted of not working, death. Stealing fruits and vegetable, death. Temple robbery, death. Homicide, death. So doesn't matter whether you commit homicide or you steal an apple, both of those are punishable by death. So this is where we get the term draconian, which means the laws are their application. So speaking of laws, excessively harsh and severe. So then comes along a man named Solon, and Solon is an Athenian statesman and lawmaker, and he says, I think Draco's laws are way too harsh, so he revises and modifies the laws in 594 BC. And as he does this, he lays the groundwork for Athenian democracy. It's not quite there yet, but this is kind of where it starts. However, there are many uprisings and power struggles that follow Solon. So then Cleisthenes is later on, this is like 60 years later, he's appointed to reform the government and the laws. In 507, he instituted a new form of government, which was a democracy. Joshua J. Mark says this new form of government would provide the stability necessary to make Athens the cultural and intellectual center of the ancient world, a reputation which lasts even into the modern age. So now that this democracy is founded, what did it look like? So we're going to talk about the characteristics of Athenian democracy. Mark Cartwright describes Athenian democracy in this way. He says, Athens in the 5th to 4th century BCE had an extraordinary system of government, democracy. Under the system, all male citizens had equal political rights, freedom of speech, and the opportunity to participate directly in the political arena. Further, not only did citizens participate in a direct democracy, whereby they themselves made the decisions by which they lived, but they also actively served in the institutions that governed them, and so they directly controlled all parts of the political process. I understand this does not include females, but I think this is really cool, like to have this city that says, hey, you have freedom of speech, you have an opportunity to directly affect how you are ruled, and you get to be involved in that. And so, like it says, they directly controlled all parts of the political process. And like, as you can see, this is very different from a lot of the ancient civilizations we've studied so far. Persicles says in 431 BC, Athens' constitution is called a democracy because it respects the interests not of the minority, but of the whole people. So it's trying to respect the interests of everybody. When it is a question of settling private disputes, everyone is equal before the law. when it is a question of putting one person before another in positions of public responsibility, what counts is not membership of a particular class. So what counts isn't whether you're in the higher class or the lower class, but the actual ability which the man possesses. So he's saying when you are trying to apply for a position, it doesn't matter where you come from, it matters what your ability is. If there's a private dispute going on, everyone is equal before the law. It doesn't matter, again, what class you come from. So again, sorry, here's another TED Ed video. What did democracy really mean in Athens? And this does a great job kind of showing you what this process looked like. So I want you to go watch this video and then fill out your section in the notes. And that is all I have for you. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.